Mastering is not just about speaking, it's about image, it's about look, it's about energy, it's about your ability to merge with the crowd and have conversation, also like that. So when I look at a speaker, I'm not just looking at your message, I'm looking at the trifecta of the whole package. When you're, are you entertaining me from every level? Are you easy on the eyes? Are you dressed appropriately? Are you giving the crowd the right energy based on the energy in the room? I'm looking at all that stuff as a master speaker, right?
Yes.
That's what I mean by mastering your craft. It's bigger than just knowing your words and your message. It's a trifecta.
So it doesn't matter if the mic goes out, doesn't matter if any of those things happen. You are in your zone of genius and able to execute.
That's exactly it. You have to be prepared for anything at this level, because anything can happen. Literally.
Welcome to Speakers and Stages, the series that goes beyond the mic and behind the scenes of powerful events. I'm your host, Lena Castle, event strategist and speaker experience expert. Yes, we're going to sit down and talk with event industry experts from backstage chaos to center stage clarity. This is where the strategy meets the spotlight. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Speakers and Stages, where we go behind the scenes with powerhouse voices shaping the speaking world, the event industry in general. And today's guest is one of the most dynamic leaders in the industry. And I lie to you not, he is a two-time TEDx speaker, the 2022 SpeakerCon Motivational Speaker of the Year, and just placed second out of 30,000 speakers in the Great American Speak Off. And if you didn't see all that, listen, I'm going to have to drop the link so people can see. Like, this was massive. He's also the author of the best-selling book, GPS, My Success. And if you stay to the end, you can get that as a gift. If you've seen him, you already know this man doesn't just deliver keynotes, he delivers breakthroughs. Please welcome the #1 breakthrough strategist, Dr. Karim R. Ellis.
First of all, it's a pleasure and an honor to be here because we've known each other for a while. We just haven't connected since the Clubhouse days. I'm not even sure people are even in Clubhouse. Clubhouse hit its highlight back during COVID because everyone was trapped in the house. And so there were some of us that was on Clubhouse just crushing it every single day. But there was a moment there was a moment where I knew I had to detox because you were on Clubhouse literally like all day from like when you got up all the way, because there's so much, like we're being fed so much stuff from so many different industries. Like I said, it's an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure to be back here with you.
Yes, welcome. And we're going to jump right in because there's such a wealth of knowledge that you bring to the industry, especially in the speaking world, because you're speaking full time, right?
Yes, absolutely. There was a moment in time where I didn't think that could be done. And I know we're going to jump into it, but I think that everything starts with vision. And I know we got folks from different backgrounds. So I'm not here to preach religion. I ain't trying to convert nobody or baptize anybody, but I believe there's a lot of biblical principles that are actually success principles that carry over outside of that book. And when scripture says, write the vision and make it plain, if you are a speaker, if you wanted to be a speaker, or you're a speaker and you're stagnant, I'm going to challenge you to go back to your vision, which is, what do I want to do in this industry? When I say vision, it's got to be clear because our most valuable resource is time. And without the right vision, we'll waste that resource of time.
There was something I was reading and doing some research, and there's this about the seed. Talk to my people about what is it about the seed that changes the trajectory of where someone is going?
Absolutely. I'm glad you said that. I am known for keeping a lot of props around me at all time. I'm one of those speakers where I love using stage props.
Yes.
Right? Because I think stage props are a dynamic way to really get your point across in a minimal amount of time. One of the things I've kept on my desk for the longest time is this little treasure chest. I wish I could tell you what's money inside. I got a safe vault for that. But locked inside of here, I got a bunch of small acorn seeds. The reason why I keep this on my desk is this a reminder that what this seed is designed to do is already that, is just a seed form. This is a mighty oak tree, the seed form. The transformation takes place when I make the decision to go plant it. Everything starts with planting seed in the right environment. One of the things I tell people is, whether you like it or not, you are seed. When God puts you here, he puts you here in seed format. Whatever you're designed to do, you're already that thing, you're in seed form. Disney's The Lion King animated, because that's always going to be my favorite version. No disrespect to Beyonce and everybody. I like the live version, but the animated version, there's a scene inside that movie where a young Simba and a young Nala is talking to each other, and they're saying, I can't wait to be king. He's singing, he's jumping off the back of the hippopotamuses and sliding down the backs of giraffes. And I'm watching this thing for the first time and thinking to myself, he's already a king. He doesn't really, he said, I can't wait to be king, but you're already that thing. You're just
Yeah.
in seed format. And so the challenge to everyone is to take at face value what type of seed you are and make the decision in this season to plant yourself properly. What I mean by plant properly, because this seed won't grow in every type of soil.
Ooh.
People don't get that. For me personally, I've been doing this line of work for 20 years. When people say, why did I leave my 9-to-5 job? It was nothing about the job that was bad. Don't get me wrong. Every job we think can pay us more money.
Yes.
Like my peers, I like my boss. But when I got the acknowledgement of what my gift and talent is and where God wanted to use me at,
Yes.
was I can't plant this seed called Kareem in their soil. I can't do it. In order for me to develop into what I'm designed to be, and most importantly, produce fruit. Because everybody's job is not just to plant yourself, but your job is to produce much fruit, to feed from the bosom of your messages, your courses, your concepts, and things like that. Only transpires when you properly plant it in the right soil. So one of the things I'm gonna challenge the listeners and the viewers today is just do the check and see, am I properly planted in the right soil? Because for some of you, you might be receiving a paycheck, but if you repurpose, replant yourself where you're supposed to be at, baby, you got a chance to become the bank, because money is an idea.
Yeah.
And most of us work hard for money and don't realize we're also able to generate money by the usage of an idea, especially for my speakers. Because money is the reward for solving a problem, which is why your message has to be in alignment with the right vision. Everything governs itself with vision.
So does every speaker, when they're going on stages and they're trying to be in alignment in preparation, how do you ensure, because every event was completely different, how is a speaker prepared to be in alignment for this particular opportunity or stage?
I'm glad you asked that. First and foremost, I want to be clear about what problem I solve.
Okay.
And until I'm clear about what problem I'm equipped and qualified to solve, and that might be through my education, my background in my field, my degree, and degree also means the school of hard knocks. Let's come on, somebody. There's some folks here that's been through some things and survived some things. And so you are equipped and qualified to speak, teach, and train people on how to survive what I call the snake bite, right? Snake bite is if you get bit by a poisonous snake, that venom has the ability to take you out. So the first thing they do when you get to that ER, they got to ask you what type of snake bit you. Because in order to save your life, we have to give you that type of matching anti-venom. If you got bit by King Cobra, I can't give you Pit Viper. I can't give you Black Mamba, because even though it's anti-venom, it'll still kill you. I can only give you King Cobra anti-venom, which is a mixture of the original venom and antibodies. So when you go through life search, the situation, circumstances, and most importantly, when you survive, in that moment, you become walking, talking, living, breathing anti-venom. The question being is, when God starts to direct people down your pathway that's been bit by the same challenges and struggles, will you allow yourself to be used to teach them what you've learned and how you've moved past that point, how you've gone from hurt to healing and created dynamic success? You don't have to give the solutions to your problems away for free. A lot of speakers fail to understand this. There is money behind you giving out your particular solution for the problem that you solve. There's a multitude of different reasons why vision is so important. If I'm going to speak in a venue, number one, I want to make sure that my message is in alignment with the venue. Now, there's a technique that I've taught other speakers called anchoring. What anchoring basically means is, if I have a certain type of message, this message can take me into every arena. I'm giving somebody gold right now. A lot of speakers go out there just trying to create a bunch of messages. You don't need 80,000 messages. When I talk about GPS My Success as a keynote, right? That's a core message. And the message is so powerful, but yet so broad. This one particular message can take me in almost any arena, any platform. I've given it in corporate. I've given it in prisons. I've given it on college campuses. I've given it in high schools. I've given it to staff and faculty. I've given it out of the country. Why? Because the message is powerful and broad enough that with a little bit of anchoring, I can anchor this message to darn near any arena, any topic. And the beautiful thing is, I don't lose my expertise by trying to talk about a topic that I have no knowledge of. And that's what I see happening a lot of speakers. They start jumping on platforms, but that's not your background. It's not your expertise, right? You always play in the lane of where you're expert. If you're going to create a keynote message, make sure the message is powerful, but broad enough that it can actually take you into a number of different doors. The one or two that most people are going after.
I have to ask this question because when I saw the details for the 10X event, I was like,
Mhm.
oh my goodness, what is going on here? So take us into the experience about the Great American Speak Off, the preparation that it took. I was getting the emails, so I see that there was a consistent reach out. There was a lot of people that were touched, voted off, I guess,
Yeah,
like
oh,
so they can get to it. So take me into that space. What do you feel like has changed between the time of what Kareem was doing and how to prepare versus what it took to prepare for something like that?
okay. So the first thing I'm gonna say is before you decide to do anything like that, there's a key element you got to master your gift.
Mm,
And this is one of the things we talked about earlier. I know we're gonna get into. Bruce Lee says to master something, you must put in 10,000 hours of practice.
mm,
There's another phrase Bruce Lee said. He said, I don't fear the man that knows 10,000 different techniques. I fear the man that knows one technique he's practiced 10,000 times. Because
mm.
if I get into a street fight with that dude and he's been practicing one kick 10,000 times and he lands it, it's game over.
Yeah.
When I first jumped into the Great American Speak Off, I didn't jump because this is the third season. But when I first got brought aboard to the idea of it, it was in season 2, and God put me in a precarious situation. I could not compete in the Great American Speak Off because I had conflicting interests with the program that I was on. But the next best thing I could do is I could pay it forward by mentoring somebody. And so that's what ended up happening. God sent somebody towards me. They were in the competition. They were thinking about backing out of the competition. We had an exchange of words and we worked on a message. I believe it got her to the top 10. Then she fell out of the contest. And then it rolled back around in May 2024. And so I looked at it and I said, I don't plan on spending any money because I know some of these things are a little bit of a cash grab. If I do this, I'm going straight through with my gift, my talent, and my God. That's all we going into battle with. We ain't paying for this. We ain't paying for that. It was close to 30,000 applicants. We had 6,000 contestants on May 24th. I was in a Zoom with close to 700 people. And they broke us down in rooms of 30. And you have
Yeah.
to give your best 60-second speech. Cannot go over. If you go over about 1 second, automatically gone. And on top of that, the judges were gauging the message to see if it was enticing enough. Does it sound like something that will work on a 10X GrowthCon stage? And so I made it out of that group. I survived it, got a gold ticket. And then we revisited again in January. Because in January, we had 120 contestants left, and we had to whittle it down to 20. And so this time you got 2 minutes, right?
Yes.
And so we crushed it with my 2-minute rounds, 3 different judges. And then that opened up the gateway to go out to Grant Cardone's headquarters in February, where the final 20 had a showdown. And the goal was to whittle it down to the top 3. I'm gifted, but I know when God intervenes. I was not one of the top 3 winners at Grant Cardone's headquarters. The 3 people that made it, I was not one of them. Grant Cardone said there were 2 speakers here that got what it takes, but for some reason, I'm not ready to see them go bye-bye. And my name got pulled in the wild card. So I'm going into it an underdog. The blessing was I didn't want to give the same speech that the judge has already heard. I
Yeah.
believe in giving fresh content. It's like watching a movie. You watch the movie 4 or 5 times, it'll never have the same excitement value as when you first watched it.
But was everybody else giving the same story every time?
They were anchored on the same story from day one. So
Wow.
back in May, they were giving the same story, a little bit of tweaks. But I said that here's my dilemma. This is GrowthCon. As a speaker, I also want to customize my message for my audience. My mentor is Les Brown. Something so deep he taught me that stays inside me this day. He said, don't let what you want to say get in the way of what your audience needs to hear. There were some people that didn't switch their message up because they were so hell bent on staying in what they started with. But I said, this is GrowthCon. Is that the message they need to hear? And so the benefit was I threw the previous message away that got me that far into the contest. And then I came back with what is the wealthiest place in the world, which was my way of also paying homage to 2 of my mentors. One being Les Brown and then one being Miles Monroe, who's a mentor from afar. I never got a chance to meet Miles. But what people don't realize, Les Brown was actually Miles Monroe's mentor. People don't catch that. So when we talk about Miles Monroe's famous quote about the graveyard being the wealthiest place in the world, it was Les Brown that gave Miles that. He just let him run with it, right? So in my mind is my way of giving a powerful message, but also paying to the journey of where I started with the people that poured into my life to help me get my stuff off the ground quicker and faster. But that's where it all started. And then it came down to the final 7. The MGM Grand was sold out. It was 8,000 people in attendance. It is about the loudest crowd you're going to get. Jumbotron, smoke coming up on the floor, lights everywhere. And you got 2 minutes. Your job is to go out there and wow the crowd. My belief is what you've been designed to do, you've been doing all your life.
Mm,
When you put seed into the right environment, it's going to produce. Your genius is always unlocked when you're put in the right environment. If I take fish out the tank and say, go run down the hallway, you call them stupid because they can't do nothing but flop around, right? But the
yeah.
moment you put a fish in water, its genius comes to life. You'll never outswim a fish. That's its
Mm,
genius environment. So for speakers, that stage should be your genius environment. Because even with the speech I gave, I still adjusted that speech in real time while I was on that stage. Because with me, there's no such thing as a finished product. If there's still room to squeeze and tweak, I ended my speech with 2 seconds on the clock. And in practice runs, I ended with 8 seconds on the clock. I cut it close, but I did ad lib at the beginning. There was something I saw from one of the other speakers earlier in the event, and I decided to sample that and bring that into my speech. It was a surreal experience. It's one of the largest stages I've been on, and I've been on a bunch of stages. What I'm hearing now with the numbers, they're saying it was over 150,000 people that viewed this online. It was powerful. It was controversial. The way it ended, it was very controversial.
mm.
Again, I leave everything in God's hand. God makes no mistakes. You run with it. And just the opportunity in the business I've been getting just from being on a platform, I work with it. But it was controversial. Some of the staff members that helped put the thing on was like, you actually won
Mm.
that. And I said, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah. As I think about events, especially with you, one with the experience that you have, also with just the different stages, the different opportunities that you've had. Take me behind the scenes. I love chaos. Behind the scenes, that's the lane I like to stay in. But tell me a time when, because what I will say is that you are a great storyteller
Thank
and
you.
you pulling from different metaphors. And my husband's also good at that, is just pulling different metaphors off the dome like that. Tell me a time when there was chaos, but you just had to act in the moment as a speaker, the craziness that goes behind the scenes. But when you
Yeah.
show up, I know for a fact you're able to just dispel all of that, and then people are paying attention to what you're saying.
One of the reasons I'm really good at off the cuff thinking is because I was in a situation back in my earlier Toastmaster days where that failed me. I trained, for example, I was talking to a group of my students the other day, and I said the most embarrassing moment I've ever had on stage was I was competing in the Toastmasters contest. Now, this would have been around 2014. So it's been some time, but I always knew I was a good speaker. I was cocky and I was arrogant as hell. Like I knew I was good. Like I knew if I walked in the room, because in the contest you have different levels you go through. So I'm beating everybody at the first level, the second level, then finally got the third level where the best of the best are all there. And out of nowhere, they tell me that your speech, because the Toastmasters contest is only a 7-minute speech, 30
Yep.
seconds over, 30 seconds under. But they told me that your speech can only be 25% borrowed content or you're out. And I was going to use an Aesop's fable and use that as my story to illustrate my point. In the world of speaking, is never give a story without a point, never give a point without a story. And then I like to throw in what I call teachable takeaways, which means I'm going to give you 2 or 3 things that I'm going to teach you right now so
Yep.
you can apply it in real time before you get out to the car. Long story short, I get up there and I'm nervous and I'm trying to think, how am I going to switch this story up so nobody recognizes it? And I can't do it. I look up at the ceiling trying to grab my words. By the time my eyes get eye level, I opened my mouth, the clock started ticking, and I blew it. I didn't have anything to give anybody, and I literally was in tears because I wanted it so bad. I wanted to win so bad, and I knew I was one of the best speakers there. I walked off the stage in embarrassment, just found a chair to sit in to make it go away. I felt like I was in elementary school all over again. You go up to the chalkboard or the whiteboard and get it wrong, and everybody starts laughing. I had that flashback moment, so I'm just trying to find a seat. One of my buddies, Bill Essence, all in the back of the room, shouts out, "Get up there and finish what you started." And I'm like, fool, do you see where we at? I just wanted to blow over. Reluctantly, I go up there. There's no way I can win the contest at this point. I've already messed up, right? But I just started to talk about my life and my journey, everything I've gone through from losing it all at 26, being forced to move back home to sleep in my parents' basement, being so depressed, I had thoughts of taking my life, thinking that suicide would be an easier way out to stop the pain, and then jumping into the world of real estate, which opened up the gateway to speaking. And God is using me in so many different faculties and taking me all over the world. Though I lost the contest, people came up to me afterwards with encouragement. They said, "I don't know what you were going to say on that stage, young man, but
Mm.
what we got out of you was 10 times more powerful than whatever it is you were going to give us originally. I think you found your authentic voice." And as speakers, it is so important for you to find your authentic voice. Now, what happened was this. I had to make a decision. How bad do I want it? I had never been embarrassed on that level before. As president of my club, that Monday, I'm sitting in the parking lot waiting till the club starts at 5 o'clock. It's about 15 minutes till. I'm parked in the back of the lot. So can't nobody see me, but I see everybody, right? And so I'm watching my fellow Toastmasters get out their vehicles, walk in one at a time. And I'm telling myself, I'm so embarrassed. I'm just going to send them an email saying I'm going to drop the title. Y'all find a new president and maybe revisit the speaking thing in a year. But something inside wouldn't let it happen. So by the time it was 10 minutes till, I started my car. 1 minute till I get out the car, I walk inside. They surprised me by tugging on me. Like they are all loving on me because they knew the courage it took to get back up there. And then I had that as a defining moment because now you owe it to yourself. So I spent the year speaking as many times as I possibly could because my belief is you have to attack your weakness head on. You cannot conquer what you refuse to confront. So once you identify weakness, it's your responsibility to your destiny to put in the work to better your best so you never encounter that situation again. What was going through my mind in front of 8,000 people was that moment there. It was the crash out in front of 60 people. And now I'm in front of 8,000 people with 150,000 people walking. This is going to be a perfect speech. There was no fear, no confusion. It was confidence from the moment they called my name to the time I got up there and did my mic drop. I was already ready to go. But this is what I mean. I mean that as a speaker, your job is to identify your weakness. When you discover it, don't push it off, don't brush it off, don't try to use smoke and mirrors to hide it, because eventually you'll be in a situation where your conquering of that thing is what's going to pronounce your greatness, right? That would be it right there. It was that one defining moment where I had to sit down and ask myself, how bad do you actually want it? Because a lot of big name speakers ain't going to tell you when they flop. They too busy trying to look pretty.
But behind the scenes, though, the crazy moments of the chaos, how do you put that aside to do what you do? Give an example of there was a time when I can't believe this happened over here, but I'm going to do my thing. Every event, how they organize it, how they provide you with the information to be confident, to know, hey, this is our overarching theme. We need you to cover this and connect with this.
So in this industry, that happens more times. It could be technology goes out, microphones go out, PowerPoints go out. So anytime something like that's happened, the best thing I can tell somebody is know your content up here. The thing that messes a lot of people up, and I might get in trouble for saying this, but I'm going to say it. Because for folks that watch the contest, the only thing I say is everybody was great speakers, but there was a difference between what I did on that stage versus everybody else. It's not to say I'm a better speaker. The reason I was able to walk, talk, and converse with the crowd and come back to the judges and converse with the crowd when everyone else just stood still in one position the whole time, because it's very hard to be ambidextrous on a platform if you don't have this already up here. And I don't mean memorized, because I never give the same speech the same way twice. A lot of times I'm gauging the energy and the flow of the crowd, so I may say the same thing, but deliver in a totally radically different way. If you try to regurgitate, you got to memorize this, which limits your ability to do all these different things. This is why you have to know your content. I don't care if you got a 40-slide deck PowerPoint. You got to know what you're supposed to talk about is on there, because Murphy's Law says that which can go wrong will go wrong with that one opportunity. Murphy has a way of, and I got VIP tickets. I'm right up front. And when it happens, what will happen is this: it'll dictate how you look as a speaker. So you have to be ready for the unexpected. I've been in situations where microphones have gone out, which means we're not going to wait around for batteries in the mic. I'll just tap into my power voice, because I've learned how to develop it and throw my voice louder without the use of a microphone, right? But then there's also times where, like I said, technology get to acting up. Sometimes you got someone in the crowd that's heckling or saying something stupid. So I've had a multitude of different things. The thing that's kept me balanced is confidence and faith in myself. You can't shake me at this level. I don't care what happens in a room, like a bomb threat. Of course, I'm off. But beyond that, once you have developed confidence, not only in yourself, but in your gift.
In your gift.
Right? There was a video I saw on Instagram, and the guy said, when a bird lands on a branch, is the faith in the bird's wings or the branch? Because if the branch breaks, the bird would fall. The faith of the bird is not in the branch to hold its weight. The faith of the bird is the fact I know I have wings, so if that branch snaps when I land on it, I'm not going to fall to my death. I got the ability to go back up there and fly, which means that you have to have faith in your gift, because faith that can't be tested can't be trusted.
Say that last part again.
Faith that can't be tested can't be trusted.
Mm.
Reason why a lot of people saw this opportunity. Let's be real. I know I'm a dynamic speaker. What's in it for me getting on that platform? How many eyes were watching me? If I was able to command the room and drop a gem in 2 minutes, what happens if we book this dude for an hour? Right?
Wow.
There's
Yeah.
a moment in your speaking career where you got everything together. You got your message, image, packaging, website. At this stage, it's all about getting on the largest platforms and stages so the most amount of people can see you. Les Brown's career shifted infinitely when he did the Georgia Dome in front of 80,000 people. You could be unknown today and known tomorrow in front of 80,000 people. So there's a point in your journey where you are looking for the larger platforms, but you got to be able to deliver and bring it. Even in the contest, not everybody delivered. Bro, some people got up there because they weren't ready for the opportunity, which is what I said earlier about mastering your gift. Mastering is not just about speaking, it's about image, it's about look, it's about energy, it's about your ability to merge with the crowd and have conversation. When I look at a speaker, I'm not just looking at your message, I'm
Sure.
looking at the trifecta, the whole package. When
Yep.
are you entertaining me from every level? Are you easy on the eyes? Are you dressed appropriately? Are you giving the crowd the right energy based on the energy in the room? I'm looking at all that stuff as a master speaker, right?
Yes.
That's what I mean by mastering your craft. It's bigger than just knowing your words and your message. It's a trifecta.
So it doesn't matter if the mic goes out, doesn't matter if any of those things happen, you are in your zone of genius
Yeah.
and
You
able to execute.
you have to be prepared for anything at this level because anything can happen. Literally, you can have a bit planner come to you and say, "Hey, I know we booked you for an hour. Your check is already cut, but the last person was speaking 20 minutes longer. They
Yeah.
had a lady they wanted to recognize that was part of the school district, and she got up there and got that microphone. They told me you going up in 3 minutes. That 3 minutes turned into about 17. She had a Maya Angelou moment because now I got to figure out how to whittle my hour talk down to basically 40 minutes because I don't want to be disruptive to the other speakers come after me. But when you know your message, you'll know what you can cut out, what you can add in, or whatever have you. But I said you got to know it. You got to know it.
Oh my goodness. And so I was reading just in preparation of our conversation.
Sure.
Tell us about who's the team behind the scenes that's supporting you,
Mm.
because there's emails that are coming out. Kareem, we need you to speak here, all the things and making sure you need to be where you need to be. And, you're executing, but tell me a little bit about your team.
Yeah. So what happens when you first start this journey out? You're usually a party of one. The problem is your most valuable resource is your time. And you want to make sure you're getting a great rate of return on your time. You don't want to break even, you want to get a rate of return. And so one of the first things I had to figure out is how do I get someone that's going to handle marketing, right?
Wow.
Because as far as reaching out to event planners, letting folks know what it is you do, responding to emails and phone calls, what I want to do is get that stuff off my plate and put that into somebody's capable hands. That frees me up. It's almost like playing chess. The game of chess only ends when the king is put in checkmate. So in this game, everybody is the king. Your job is not, checkmate means I got you boxed in where you can't move. My job is to start divvying stuff off of my hands onto someone else's hands so I can't move. I want to be able to direct what's going on in the battlefield, but I don't want to necessarily be on the battlefield where I can be taken off the board. For me personally, it was the marketing team. It was getting event planners that were actually out there looking for speaking engagements for me and getting me locked in at my signed fee agreement, whatever have you. So that was the first things that took that off the plate. The hardest thing for most speakers is finding speaking engagements. And honestly, that's probably the easiest part because they're everywhere. It's just a matter of you building your brand in such a way that makes you enticing that an event planner wants to deal with you. I'm
Yeah.
sure you've seen a lot of speakers where they want to speak, but they're missing so many pieces of the puzzle. Nobody wants to gamble put them on a stage.
Well, that's a great, like, give them a little bit about the
Mhm.
pieces of the puzzle, because you bring up something really important, because people are like, I want more stages. And in
Sure.
my mind, you're saying that there's
Yeah.
some implications if you're looking for it and you have to verbalize it. But what are the missing pieces?
Yeah. So for most people, they want an event planner that's able to book them gigs in the right environment. You just don't want to be on everybody's stage.
Yeah.
There are some stages that have you on at a heartbeat. It's not going to build your tribe. It's not going to build your following. They're not going to buy your product. They're not going to look at you as mentoring, coaching. So that's a waste of your time. The first thing is finding your marketing team. The second thing is looking at how you can expand your message. For me, when I started this journey, I didn't think about going global.
Mm.
It never crossed my mind. I prepared for a local journey. And the way I realized this was one of my first opportunities to speak out in the country was the company PayPal. They were putting on a female empowerment leadership event in Dubai, 200 of the top female execs. and they wanted 3 American speakers to come out to Dubai and give 2 one-hour leadership talks. And it wasn't paying a whole lot. Back then it was. It's paying $4,000 first class flight. They were going to cover the hotel for 4 days. So you can actually go out and visit. And the only reason it didn't happen was because I had a name change. I wasn't born Karim R. Ellis. I was born Karim Muslim Salam. My parents converted from Islam to Christianity, but they never got my birth certificate updated. They basically took a labeling machine and printed out Karim R. Ellis and slapped it over top because we moved from Gary, Indiana to Cincinnati, and that's like a 4.5-hour trip one way. So they used that to get me into school, to get my license at 16, to register to vote. And so now I got this opportunity to speak in Dubai. I'm thinking I'm gonna get a passport. I sent the document in. They said, we can't use this birth certificate. And so now I'm scrambling to get an original copy of my birth certificate. And by the time it happens, I literally have a week to get my information to the event planner so she can buy my first class flight. I didn't realize I got my passport, but no one told me I needed a visa to get into the country. And it's like, it's not gonna be processed in time. I remember being so upset with my parents because I said, why didn't you tell me this? It's like, there's no way we was gonna know he was gonna be I got in trouble for talking too much. Like, what you thought I was gonna do with the gift, right? And I got angry at God because I said I was moving by faith. I was spending all this money overnight in documents and flying around. And God said, this is your fault. I said, how's it my fault? He said, because you prepare for the journey you believe you're going to take. If you believed you was going to be an international speaker, you'd have had a passport in hand before the opportunity showed up on your doorstep. You prepared for a local journey. You was fine moving around to 51 different states. You didn't think about taking a message overseas or out of the country.
Wow.
So I would say that your vision, that's the second thing. I got a team I meet with on a quarterly basis to look at the vision of the brand and where we want this vision to go to, because everything around us has an expiration date.
Yeah.
And even visions can expire or go stale if we don't understand they're supposed to transition and either go bigger, larger, or in a different direction. So that's the second thing, having the right people around me where we're looking at the vision to make sure the vision's still on track, especially with what's going on in the country now. There's a lot of speakers crushing it in diversity, inclusion, and equality. We know that's Donald Trump's main thing right now. If certain places are giving talks, we yanking your fund, yanking your money. There's a lot of speakers that don't know how to pivot and position because that was their niche. That was their goal. This is why I said vision is important, because I also want to know the climate of the country. We were around during 2020. A lot of speakers fell by the wayside once the country shut down because we're not putting people together in stadiums. We're not bringing people in conference centers. And a lot of speakers didn't know how to pivot and do their message virtually through Zoom. Their vision did not allow them to participate in the change. Me, I'm still crushing. I learned how to do it virtually. So I wasn't hurting, but a lot of people were. So the second thing I would say is I got a vision team where we sit down and we focus on the direction. For me, those two have been the major things we've looked at. Because I don't do too much changing up of messages and content and stuff like that. Because like I said, when you come up with the right message, that message is ambidextrous. It'll carry you for centuries. Les Brown's been giving people, you got to be hungry for years, and nobody has not requested that content.
Wow.
So it's those two things for me. Yeah, marketing vision.
When you're talking about crafting your message, are there certain elements that changes like when I hear you speak, it's like it changes the environment. A lot of these events, they're not thinking about shifting the environment. I don't think people understand the power and impact of a speaker that can shift the environment. So is there something that you do within your content that's, I know that these are the elements to ensure that I'm continually fresh and shifting the environment at an event?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I'm real good at doing is I had the meeting before the meeting, which means that when the event planner decides that we're going to move forward, we have a couple of conversations leading up to the main event, at least a minimum of 2 conversations. I want to know everything about your organization. I want to know what your weak points are. I want to know what your struggles are. I want to know what will make you guys 10% better. I want to make sure that whatever I talk about, I can make sure my talk addresses that specifically. I don't want to go out there giving just a random message. I want to make sure I can anchor it solidly to what that organization says they need. The other missing piece of the formula that a lot of people leave out is I also want to talk to your staff and your employee team, which is why I usually get there a day in advance. I'm getting to the event the day in advance. So that way, if they got something going on, I get to meet with them. And often I won't even tell them I'm the speaker. I come in, if they got a little mixer, my job is not to get too drunk. So I'm out there doing something stupid, just a little sitting here and there. But mingling and mixing and trying to find out what he likes so much about the job. If you can change 3 things, what would you change? What do you think the company's biggest issue is? I'm getting the information directly from the team. Because a lot of times what the team is saying is wrong and what HR, they are 2 different things because they had 2 different environments, right? So
Yes.
once I have that, now I'm better able to detail the talk because I know exactly what the problem is and I can provide that solution. But yeah, the people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, which is one of the reasons why going the extra step and having these types of conversations and adjusting your talk to address it will always put you in high demand. Like with my YouTube channel, I have over 200 video testimonials from folks saying I heard him speak, best speaker ever, book him, we're bringing him back. And you get those type of accolades not by fumbling your way to the finish line. It's because you pay attention to detail and under promise and over deliver.
And there was something else you and I said we were going to make sure that we talked about on here, just a little bit about the mentorship and some aspects there that you wanted to bring up. And I also, in the back of my mind, the word fruit, something about not being able to see the fruit and the impact sometimes when you give a talk and then you're like, dang, I don't get to see some of the fruit.
Yes, one of the things we talked about was one of the most detrimental things to speakers. Oftentimes, as Les Brown calls us, messengers of hope or messengers of change. We get booked, we go out, we give this colossal message, plant seeds inside of people. And it's up to that person to decide what they want to do with that seed. The problem is a lot of times we're there for a day and then we shoot back across the country. So we didn't get a chance to really stick around and see if the seed was planted and the fruit was produced. And that can be discouraging because a lot of times outside of the handshakes, the hugs, the photos, stuff like that, there are moments of this journey where I'll be upfront. If you're doing it solo, it can get lonely, which is why you have to learn how to have a life inside of this industry because a lot of folks are out there in the trenches doing it on their own. There's a lot of folks that's not married. They're not in a relationship. They're doing it on. So obviously, if you're in this pathway and you're journeying all across the country and you're planting all the seed in the people, there may be moments and seasons where you get a little discouraged because you're wondering, am I even making a difference to people? And this is why it's so important for you personally, not just for the event planner, but for you to get those testimonials. This is why it's important to invite those people to connect with you in your community. Because when they connect inside of your community, you'll have the ability to see whether or not the seed you gave to them got planted. More importantly, you'll see the production of fruit. I remember one time I was going through a store thinking, am I making a difference? And out of nowhere, someone said, you don't know me. But I was in Atlanta about 6 months ago, and I heard you speak. And you talked about the cheetah principle, where you talked about the importance of identifying your God-given gifts and talents to create your glory. And based on that, I not only quit my job, I started a business, and it has been successful this first 6 months. And I just want to reach out to you and tell you thank you because you gave me what I needed to push me in the right direction.
Wow.
You'll get those moments of encouragement to remind you that you're doing good work. But just be aware, there are moments where you don't get a chance to stick around to see if the fruit developed. But when they reach out to you, it just hits you in a different place. I tell people I don't break down and cry easily, but they don't call me the couple when those the Michael Jordan memes, the little cry meme. They don't call me a couple times off guard because you don't expect it to hit. But then it makes you feel good because you're being compensated for speaking, but you understand it's always deeper than that. It's always deeper than that. You know, what you love to do, you typically do for free. But when you know what you work, you're gonna get paid.
Oh, yes, absolutely. But how do you balance that? Some people do a good job with balancing, but family, you're married. How do you balance that? You're traveling all over, you're in the space of a lot of different types of people. And it takes a lot of energy.
So I'm gonna say something controversial, and people gonna get mad at me, but I'm gonna be honest. I know we talk about work-life balance all the time. If you really want to be great at a thing, work-life balance may have to slide to the side for just a little bit. People don't like me saying this, but I'm being real. If you look at the greats in any industry, there really wasn't work-life balance. There was a season of sacrifice where they had the conversation with their loved ones and said, hey, listen, this is the goal.
Yes.
Me getting to this goal means everybody's good. Nobody wants for nothing. So I just need a season where I can just grind as hard as I can. And I need you guys to be okay with this grind season. Because once this harvest season, everybody is straight. I think you can do work-life balance. I think you can balance your stuff out. And I think certain people will have to go that route based on their current circumstances. But I think the ability to get to your finish line quicker and faster will be based on how much time you can put directly into the very thing that is your assignment.
Oh,
Even if we look at the story of Moses, Moses got into it with the 12 tribes because he couldn't get his God assignment done. They kept coming to him every 17 seconds. So the Jethro said, Moses, appoint 12 judges, let them take care of that so you can focus on this. And if the judges can't make the decision, then it spills over to you, which
Yep.
lets me know if I want to dominate something, there's going to be sacrifice. You're not going to get to your finish line without sacrifice. Beautifully, you're allowed to decide what that sacrifice looks like. But if you're married, that's got to be a team conversation. Like, you just can't be dipping on somebody and be gone 96 hours of the week and just leave them hanging. No, you're going to have a conversation.
Go ahead and try.
Yeah. It goes back to vision, which
Yep.
is knowing what I want, where I'm going to. Then strategy. What's the strategy that gets me there? In a game of football, the offensive line goes into a huddle every play to come up with a strategy that moves the football down the field. It stays in play as long as you got time on the clock, right? If I got vision, which is what I want in the speaking industry, and that's just not my audience, that's not my tribe, just not my book. I'm talking money, I'm talking lifestyle. I want to have all that as part of my vision so I know what I'm going after. Then I want to figure out what's the strategy that gets me there. And that strategy for most folks is not going to be just speaking on stages. There's actually more money off the stage than on the stage. Like if you're just sitting there just trying to speak your way to wealth, you're going to be there for a long time. You're going to be on a lot of stages and do a lot of traveling, and you still may not make it there. You have to have books and courses and things like that that you're also pitching that can be sold 24/7.
Yes.
If I book a speaking engagement today, that booking may not have me on stage for 2 months. So yeah, they will pay my full deposit up front. But if I'm just depending on that to live off of, we in trouble. Which means I have to have multiple streams of income coming from this line of work. And then I also want to diversify. I may want to put some of this money over into other things like real estate. So I have multiple streams of income coming in. So if I do have a COVID season, I don't get shut down. I want multiple streams of income. And then the last thing is having the right mentor. The mentor that can identify your vision and make sense. And they know how to work the strategy that's going to get you there quicker. Because your shortcut to life will always be in finding the right mentor. It's the only shortcut you get. I've seen people that thought the legacy of being connected as a birthright to a big name was going to usher them in. I said, your legacy can't be inherited. It has to be earned. If you don't believe me, I love Michael Jackson, but there was a moment where his kids try to put out, it got to be earned. Just because you got Mike's DNA, we don't know. Right. We don't know if it's real DNA there or not, because I be looking like, I don't see
Like I don't
future. I don't see Mike in jeans, but being a child of the king of pop does not automatically make you a singer. That legacy still got to be earned, which means you got to be in the trenches. You got to show up and you got to do the work. The greats in this industry, they've been in the trenches. They've been doing the work. And that's why they had that legacy.
Now, the GPS My Success, tell everyone about their free digital copy that they can go ahead and get, and tell them how to get it, but tell them what is it about.
Absolutely. At one point in time, people kept coming to me and asking me, what was the secret sauce behind my success? And again, I'm gonna go back to vision. It will always be vision. Write the vision, make it plain. When I thought about a concept that I could create and share with the world, I thought about a GPS. Because out of all the technology I use when I travel, the GPS is the one I use the most, because every time I travel to a city I don't know, I put that address in the GPS to find my way around. I looked at the GPS as a roadmap to success. This roadmap works no matter what industry you're in, no matter what your goal and dream is. Everything starts with you identifying where you want to go and being the responsible party to put an address inside your GPS. So we'll talk about 5 core things. We'll talk about setting the address. We'll talk about moving with clarity over confusion, because a lot of times people don't move because they're confused about what they're supposed to be doing, where they're supposed to be going. Oh, I got my tax return came back. What should I be doing with the money? You're supposed to be getting that LLC done and that website done. Don't you go out there spending on a car. You don't need that just yet. The hardest thing about entrepreneurship is not getting that check back and watching everybody. I got $6,000. Dang. I remember those days when you want to do this rapid refund and get it back fast. And once you jump over entrepreneurship, it don't happen that way. Now you're looking for tax write-offs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think it's setting a vision, moving with clarity over confusion. It's being properly connected while dodging your dead zones. And what I mean is GPS only works on Wi-Fi technology. So as long as you got a strong signal, GPS will take you anywhere you want to go. But if you hit a dead zone, which is where that signal is removed and released, you are literally driving blind. So we'll talk about what it means to be properly connected to the right mentors, the right coaches, the right education, the right organizations, right? We'll talk about dead zones. We'll talk about the places and spaces that actually get you locked up and blocked up so you get lost. For somebody, it's your job. Every time you clock in 40 hours a week, you forgot about your goal and dream of going out here speaking on stage and changing the world. You got to remove yourself from that dead zone. And for somebody else, that dead zone is family and friends.
Wow.
Just because they got your last name and share your cheekbone structure and look like you does not mean they got your best interest at heart. So you got to be aware of dead zones and when to step out of them so you don't get perpetually lost. The two other things we talk about inside this body of work, we talk about recalculating. Because GPS, if you make a wrong turn, it don't beat you up and send you home. It begins to reroute because there's a multitude of different ways to get to your finish line. This will talk about that as well, right?
Yeah.
And then last but not least, it's going to talk about checking the history log. Because if I want to know how we got to your present, all I need to do is look at your life GPS history log because it shows me every address you punched in since you decided to jump on this journey. And where your focus goes, your energy flows. So if you have not been achieving great things and getting on stages, could it be because you've been putting the wrong address in your GPS and cheating on your goals and dreams because you've been chasing everybody else's agenda? If I pull your GPS, it's going to tell me where you've been going to. It's going to tell me where you've been spending your time. And that's all I need to know of why you're not where you're supposed to be. And I'll be upfront and say it. My biggest problem is I was chasing everybody else's goals and dreams. My destinations were nowhere inside my life's GPS. So we covered those 5 core principles, but they apply anywhere, whether you're just trying to lose weight, build a business, or more importantly, if you're trying to chase your purpose. This is excellent work for it. And of course, I got the greatest speaker in the world, Les Brown, to do the foreword for it.
Oh.
Actually, he's the captain's bound the book. I was traveling with him on his You Gotta Be Hungry tour. And he asked me if I had a book on the talk. And I said, I don't. He said, boy, if you don't, I'm going to slap you with this. He said, boy, if you don't put a book out with it, because the message is so groundbreaking, right?
Yes.
If you don't put a book out with this on here and I'll do the foreword, I'm going to slap you with this before we get back to the hotel. So it made it urgent to knock it out. But I want to bless you guys with it. How you can go about doing it? If you will go over to my Instagram, Karim Ellis 2.0, 2 things I need you to do. Number 1, follow me. Then number 2, jump into the DM and let me know that you heard me speak today on this powerful podcast. My team will give you a link where you can download it for free. No sales. That's just my way of paying it forward because I want to see you thrive and survive in 2025.
We appreciate you sharing these nuggets. Let me just rewind that. Let me take it piece by piece. It reminds me of even content, not even the similar content. I'm not good at metaphors like you, but I think about like when I hear powerful people who speak, Brene Brown, and I'm like, wait, what is, it's so thoughtful. You've experienced it and then you're able to share it. And so everyone, you definitely make sure follow Dr. Karim R. Ellis. What an amazing speaker. Very accomplished. He has the experience. I appreciate you chilling with us today and pouring into us. Now everyone can go get their GPS and find out where they're going. Don't get lost.
Absolutely. Everybody can get in their GPS and finish 2025 strong, regardless of what candidate is in office. Hey, listen, the GPS don't care about distractions. So that's how I'm gonna lay it there. We got a lot of distractions in this season. The GPS only cares about producing results. So when you know where you're going, you can look at a lot of the distractions and stay focused. Right now, we are being hit with a lot of distractions. We ain't even halfway through the year. We've been in a lot of distractions. So
Yeah,
get your focus back on while everyone else is not paying attention. Stay
that's
focused.
so good. Thanks so much. We appreciate you. See you really soon
All right.
on the next stage. Take care.
All right.